The interview with BJNN is brought to you by Biz Events, connecting the Central New York business community through events.
I'm Marny Nesher, President of the Business Journal News Network, and I'd like to welcome Stephanie Crockett, Executive Vice President and Managing Director of Mower. Mower markets themselves as one of America's largest privately held, full-service advertising and marketing agencies in the United States. You can read more about Mower in our 2019 Book of Lists under Marketing, PR, and Advertising Agencies. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I always like to start off learning a little bit more about you. If you can share with us where you grew up, was it here in Central New York, and where you received your undergraduate degree?
Absolutely. So I am a Syracuse native. I actually grew up in Camillus, and my family still lives there, my parents and one of my sisters. And I went to West Genesee High School, and I got my undergraduate degree at SUNY Geneseo.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And what did you major in, if I may ask?
Sure. I was a business major. They didn't have a specific marketing or advertising major at the time, so I was a business major with a concentration in environmental studies.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And who was your role model growing up?
I'd have to say I'd have two, and it was my parents. My mom and dad are just amazing people. My father was a great businessman. He was a realtor and the hardest working person I knew. My mom stayed home with my sisters and I until I'm the youngest of three, until I was old enough to go to school. And both really, really involved in the community. They were always big volunteers. They were at every game, every dance recital, every piano concert. And they're just badasses. And they really have taught my sisters and I about community service, and they continue to be my role models today.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And your progression to becoming the Managing Director, Executive Vice President, how did that happen at Mower?
I started at Mower 15 years ago, and I started as a senior account executive. So my role has always been in client service and really marketing strategy, which I love. And I still manage clients today. And through that time, Mower was always very, very supportive of me, and I had an amazing boss, Chris Steenstra, who's our Chief Administrative Officer today, and she really kind of gave me wings and said, go fly, and was there when I needed her to be. And so that progression just happened because of the support system that I had here. I knew within the first few months of being at Mower that I had found my sort of forever home.
And so when you seek business advice today, who do you reach out to?
I have several people here at the agency, of course, that are incredible mentors. Eric Mower in particular, Chris Steenstra, as I mentioned, our vice chairman, Doug Bean, others in the company. And I also get a lot of business advice from my husband. My husband, Matt Reed, is a professor at Lemoyne. He teaches marketing and advertising. And he actually used to work at Mower. We used to work at an agency together. That's how we met. And so we have a lot of over dinner conversations about work. And he's a brilliant marketing strategist. So he's one of the people that I speak with, but certainly all of the mentors that I have here at Mower.
Well, it seems like you have a lot of support.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an amazing
It's very
company.
Instrumental, I think, in your success.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things about Mower is while certainly there are challenges that we overcome as women, a lot of them just sort of societal challenges and things that we sort of think about having to overcome. I never once had any feeling that because I was a woman, it had any negative impact on my career, on any of the relationships that I had. Out of our senior leadership team, many of us are women, and a large percentage, and about 50% of the agency is female. So it's a very women empowering kind of an environment, and that certainly has been a great benefit for me.
So let's step back then and tell us a little bit about how Mower began.
So we actually celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. Eric, thank you, thanks. It got marked actually with us changing our name from Eric Mower and Associates to Mower. And Eric was a Newhouse grad. And so out of college, he joined an agency in Syracuse called Silverman Advertising. And after just a few short years, bought into the agency, became Silverman and Mower, and then Eric did as Eric does, and it progressed and became Eric Mower and Associates.
That's interesting.
So here we are 51 years later.
Yeah. And he's still here and he's still involved?
He is, yes. He's our president and CEO. He's still very involved in the agency today. Yeah, very, very involved in our industry associations. He's the chairman of the Business Council of New York, so he has his pulse, a finger on the pulse, if you will, of everything happening in the industry, and certainly within all of the regions and all of the markets where we have offices.
So you've been here a long time, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Do you have one something specific that you can share with us that you're really proud of, that working with one of your clients, one of the promotions that you've worked on, that you feel comfortable sharing? Or
Sure. We have, there's so many stories, and I can say that everybody in the agency, from our creative directors to the account managers and everybody in between, are really very driven by the success we're able to drive for clients and some of those stories. I think a good example that your viewers can relate to is one in Central New York, and Krauss Health has been a client of ours for many, many years. We developed the clock tower logo and Take Me to Krauss. And
right, very popular.
Yeah, very popular and very well known. And we launched for them last year the Care Passion campaign. And that was a real labor of love for everyone involved, from the client to everybody at the agency. Care Passion is a word that we created specifically for Krauss, and it was intended to really capture the difference that it is at Krauss. You just feel different there as an employee, as a patient. And so for our team, because we do so much work outside of the area, be able to see that work come to life on the billboards on the highways and in the assets you're seeing and posters hanging in the mall and the TV spots and all of that. And to be able to kind of live within the environment that we're seeing all the campaign running. And I think most importantly, because Care Passion has become language, it's become vernacular that they use at Krauss, that patients use to describe their experience. They write letters all the time about the amazing care that they're getting. And it's like, this is a true example of Care Passion. And that's like the ultimate for us from a branding perspective, to be able to put together a campaign that was truly intended to share what's special and different about Krauss, and then to have our patients and our employees use that language to describe the care and their experiences there is like the ultimate for us. So yeah, that's something we're really proud of.
Yeah, you should be. What would be the main benefit of an ad agency in 2019?
Well, I think the thing that's been so fascinating over the last decade and probably 20 years is just how different marketing and advertising is today, right? 20 years ago, we had 4 mediums. It was TV, it was radio, it was print, and it was yellow pages, right? For those of us that remember that. And now there are like hundreds. And especially an agency like ours, which is an integrated firm that has on-site video production, web developers, strategists, paid social and paid search and all of those things. There's so much to know and learn, and to be able to think about a campaign that a lot of times, if you're trying to work in these different areas, it can become really siloed. And so an agency can really bring all of that together for you, make sure that everything's moving in the right direction, that you're achieving your goals, that you're identifying what are the real business objectives and business goals that you have. And everything that we do as an agency is striving not just for the kind of metrics we talk about in marketing, like number of clicks on a banner ad, or right, people that have said that they got your phone number because of a TV spot, but it's really, are we helping drive those business objectives? If it's about revenue goals, if it's about number of widgets sold, those are the kind of things that we really want to drive people to. So an agency can help really identify what are the plans through all of those various different mediums and channels that are out there. How do they work together? How can you use them really strategically to help, again, achieve those business goals?
It's nice. And that sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but I think the other aspect that we bring to our clients is also, there's a lot of our clients that have wonderful in-house capabilities, marketing teams, but you bring a fresh perspective, right? You bring that creative, that really out-of-the-box thinking that they can't typically get within their own 4 walls. And so it's nice to have an extension of their team, and that's absolutely the kind of relationships we have with our clients, is one that we are partners. We are a true extension of their team. We speak the same language they do. We know what they know. We understand their industry as well as they do. And that's really critical for us. So it is a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Let's talk about leadership.
Sure.
You're a leader in your organization, and innovation is really important. What kind of recommendations would you have for other leaders in terms of innovating your employees?
I think one of the most key aspects of being able to be a good leader and to drive innovation is to understand and really find the value and the goals and the strengths in all of your employees, right? So I think very often you have a predication to think about who are the people who are the loudest in the room, who raise their hand the most, who are the ones who are the most kind of forward in their approach. But there is a lot to learn from introverts, right? There's a lot to learn from people who are process oriented, and being able to understand what are the different kind of ways that those employees, their personas, their leadership skills themselves, and how do you get the most out of them. People are always surprised when I tell them that I think the vast majority of our creative department here in Syracuse, I would consider them introverts. And that's always surprising to folks, but they are amazing, talented creative, but they sometimes do their best thinking with a pair of Beats on and just kind of doing their work and creating on their own. And so I think the best part about innovation for that is to be able to leverage various tools and give them the space to ideate in the way that they want to, right? Being forced to sit in a room and brainstorm is not always the best way to get creative thought out of a team. Some may be better off on their own. So I think that's how you really drive innovation with the team, is recognizing the differences in their abilities and their skills and their capacity and the way that they approach the work, and giving them the flexibility to do it in that fashion. And then you come back together and really get incredible thinking and incredible ideation.
Incredible results.
Yeah, for sure.
And something that always amazes me is that you in particular do a lot of volunteering. And I wanted to ask you about that. I see that it's really important to you.
Right.
And you also encourage your employees to get involved and to volunteer.
Right.
And I wonder, why do you do it?
Sure.
And why do you encourage your employees in your organization to volunteer as well?
Yeah. As I said earlier, my parents both volunteered. My mother was, president of the PTA. My father was the president of the Camillus Optimus Club as long as I can remember, running basketball and softball and t-ball teams. And so it's something that I grew up with. And in any place that I had worked, I'd always wanted to be very involved from a volunteer perspective, because I just wanted to be part of what was happening in the community. And I can say that not all of the employers that I worked for were always as supportive. And when I came to Mower, when I mentioned that, after just a few months, I knew I'd found my home here. That was established by Eric and his wife, Judy, who are amazing philanthropists, have always been extremely dedicated to the community. And that's a value of ours as an agency. You see that across all 9 of our offices and every market that we're in. And the reason that I encourage that for employees is not only because we are committed and believe that we have a responsibility to help support the community that we're in, but I think it broadens you. I was very involved in Mayor Walsh's campaign, and I had never experienced a Syracuse like that. And I've lived in the city for almost 20 years, and I learned so much about the city, and it opened my eyes to incredible and just people around the community that were pioneers, that were the hardest working young people I had ever met. And I wouldn't have had that experience had I not, accepted the mayor's request for me to be involved on the campaign. And so when I think about that experience and really trying to truly understand what's happening in our community, what can we do to help it, that's why we encourage our employees to be involved too, because I know that they'll gain as much from it as I do, and it'll give them a better sense of the world that we live in. And frankly, it makes them better, more empathetic marketers. Probably the most important quality that we look for in our account managers and strategists are people that have empathy, that can put themselves in the shoes of our customers, of our clients' customers. Without being able to do that, you can't really market to them. You can't message to them if you don't really understand where they're coming from. So I think it all really comes full circle, not only to helping our employees have opportunities to be leaders by sitting on boards in the community, learning about what's really happening, and then being able to bring all of that learning and insight back to our clients.
So my final question to you today really is then, what do you see, what's your opinion on what's going to happen in the community? What do you see in the foreseeable future for Central?
Well, I think I'd like to say that what I see is probably a little bit of my hope. I think that there is an incredible groundswell of activity in the community right now. I had the good fortune of being able to see that through my time with serving on the board for United Way and for Center State CEO, and all of these amazing organizations coming together to really address the tough problems that we're having, right? And through that, you're seeing incredible entrepreneurship, leaders in the community that are coming up with new nonprofits, new businesses, new things to really address that. So I think we'll continue to see the small business entrepreneurial level of business that we've seen and sort of the trend over the last few years. But I believe it will continue to really bring those different audiences together, the different communities, in order to really provide opportunities that weren't there before, because we've got the right leaders in place in all of these organizations that are at the table together, that are working together. And I think it's going to transform the city. I think it's going to transform us as an agency. I think it will transform Central New York and hopefully some of the key fields that we focus on here in Syracuse. And I think it's really going to help. It's not going to be easy and it's not going to be fast, but I think it's really going to help us out of the poverty tragedy that we have right now.
That's a great message.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.
That's
I
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thanks.
And that's all the time we have for today. Please stay with us for updates. Visit our website at cnybj.com. We look forward to seeing you next time.